Hello everyone, welcome back to another Off the Cuff chat with me, FPL Mez, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Tien, FPL Planner AU, and our fantastic planning king over here from Australia. Welcome to your second stream with me.
Thanks, Meera. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's always great to come on to your show and have a chat about FPL.
Yeah, I'm really excited to chat about all the planning, side of things that we've got to do. Of course, there's so much to talk about. There's been so much going on. But look, firstly, I just wanted to also just give a shout out to everyone that's joined us on YouTube. We are only doing a YouTube stream this time, so it's a first time for me, not doing it on Spaces, but we're doing it directly on YouTube this time. Still experimenting with it all, still having some fun with it. So yeah, it's been an interesting sort of experience setting it up without the spaces. So there's a slightly different layout as well. So let me know what you think. If you like the layout, if you like the next couple of screens and things like that, yeah, give me some feedback. That would be really useful because there's no phone there this time with the spaces screen to kind of see who's over there and sort of pulling them in as well. So yeah, so it's slightly different this time. So yeah, great to see you guys on here. So Peter, lovely to have you. Thanks for sort of making it today. So look, there's lots to sort of talk about. In a nutshell, so everyone knows like what we're covering today. We're going to talk about some of the things that have been going on in general. Like we're going to cover our game week 24 as well and how that went for us both. And we're going to do some planning around game week 25 and of course the subsequent game weeks that are coming up as well. There has been a lot going on, so there is a lot to cover there. And yeah, we're going to then talk a little bit about chips and chip strategies because there's again potential game weeks coming up where we may want to use our chips as well. And then of course we're going to just cover off our bus teams, what we're actually thinking for our transfers for game week 25, and take some of your questions. So we've had a couple of questions come through on X, but we'll take your questions in the chat in this stream as well. So yeah, so that's what we're going to cover today. Tien, what have been like the interesting things that have come out over the last sort of week or so for you? Like what sort of jumped out? I can sort of start like one place, which is like all this news around leaks and no leaks and things like that as we've sort of we're thinking about our game week 24.
Yeah, no, obviously, it has been a hot topic. I think the leaks has been, becoming a big part of FPL. Like, I know that, leaks have been around for a few years now, but it used to be just like the occasional game weeks where, there's only certain teams that have certain accounts or certain people knowing
Yeah.
the lineup beforehand. But I think it has become a lot more common, and so that it kind of become an expectation that every game week we'll get leaked informations about team lineup. And so a lot of engaged manager on Twitter or X would normally wait around before deadline for the leaked information before they make decisions. And and obviously that has created a little bit of a let's say uneven sort of playing field
Yeah.
for a lot of people. Like, for us, on this side of the world, Saturday deadline is not too bad for us because it's sort of
Yeah.
like, in the evening, but Friday night deadline is the worst because, you either wake up, at 5 a.m. to catch the news and take some actions sort of half asleep or you just sleep through it and not knowing the information and just hope for the best. So
Mm.
and the other thing I found is that even if you get information, generally the information only comes out like with minutes before the deadline, and
Yeah.
sometimes you are forced into making that very sort of rash decisions at the last minute
Mm.
and potentially like throwing all your plans out of the window. So so personally, I don't like it, but it certainly is a big part of FPL now, whether you like it or not.
I know it's such a struggle because, look, I completely agree with you. I think when we've had those 10 p.m. deadlines over here for us in Sydney anyway, it's been a lot more manageable. But it does mean that it's a 10 p.m. on a Saturday. And so those of us that are planning to go out or do something on a Saturday night, because that, obviously, like we've all got lives outside of FPL as well, it makes it really challenging. And I think this week was the first time in a long time that I had a friend, sort of say, hey, I'm going to be out on Saturday night. If you're around, can you just let me know if there's any leaks or things, anything that we can find out? Because obviously we've got the Brentford Liverpool match, on Saturday as the first kickoff. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's come to this. Like, I get it, but I can't believe it's come to this. And I have to admit, like, I have been looking out for the leaks as well. It's really annoying. It's one of those things where, you don't want to do it, but you almost feel like because you know about it, you can't ignore it entirely as well. So, yeah, it's been frustrating, and I can see that just happening. Like, I don't see that sort of stopping at all. So yeah, it's unfortunately it is what it is, and we have to kind of like roll with it. And I have to admit though, like when we've had 5 a.m. deadlines and we've had like midweek deadlines, 5 a.m. deadlines, or three in the morning deadlines, I've not bothered. I've not bothered to wake up. That's when I've sort of gone, you know what, I can't. And it, like, I just don't like the idea of disrupting my sleep. And see, 5 a.m. I can still do. I could still wake up that little bit earlier, but 3 a.m. is just not feasible. So yeah, I don't. I know a lot of people do. I know a lot of people in the States who have a very awkward, timeline to work with when it comes to the deadlines and everything. But yeah, it's tough. But the other big news, of course, in like I say big news, but there's been a lot of talk about sort of players, like which players are in, which players are out, who's playing, who's not playing, who's in training, who's not in training. And then, of course, we had the Champions League match this morning for us in Australia, anyway. For you guys, overnight or last night. If you're watching the Man City match, but I was watching some of that match thinking, if I had to bring a Man City defender, who the hell would I bring in? And De Bruyne, like, obviously got benched in the last game week for a lot of the match, and so I think he only came on for the last 30 minutes or something like that, 20 minutes or so. And he was like hot on like my radar anyway to bring in, and so now I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to keep an eye on everything that's going on, and then on top of that, I've been keeping an eye on price changes as well. So it's like, here's me thinking, oh yeah, I'm not going to let FPL suck up a lot of my time, and then it's just sucking up a lot of my time.
Yeah, no, it just it has become so competitive these days. Like, there's so many engaged managers out there that are competing with each other, and yeah, so like there's always information and information overload as well. So yeah, I think for me personally, I try to I try to sort of streamline my week as much as possible. So, for example, like I tend to ignore the predicted price changes as much as
Yeah.
possible, um, except for like only when I know that there's certain moves I want to make and I'm gonna be priced out of that. But otherwise, like most week, I just completely sort of switch off on that front. So just to remove one layer of influence on my decisions, and then yeah, for all those sort of like training pictures of Salah, for example, and all the speculation whether he's going to be fit or not. Yeah, I tend to just ignore all of those because at the
Yeah.
end of the day we have the press conferences to go with, and they tend to be on Thursday night or Friday night, and then by Saturday morning our time we should have all the information, um, and then of course we still probably waiting around to, to the deadline for leagues anyway. So
Yeah.
so yeah, like all the time that you spend during the week, sort of try to predict what's going to happen is. I think it a lot of that can be removed, and so yeah, I do listen to content sort of throughout the week, but then
Yeah.
it's mainly about prioritizing sort of those analysis of the previous game week. So I listen to a couple of pods that do a very good analysis of all the games, so that I can see like, okay, well, who is doing well and who's not, because I haven't been able to watch all the games myself. And then yeah, and then just sort of like a couple of favorite pods along the week, but mainly
Yeah.
just to take some information in um, into consideration, but
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't really thought too much about exactly what I'm going to do until like much later in the week.
Yeah, yeah, same. I've now sort of narrowed it down to, a few that I'm listening to and trying to, like you say, avoid the price rises and falls because look, I have been sort of, caught in price rises and falls, unfortunately, where my team value is not fantastic, and so I have to kind of keep on track of like where possible, because like I think I'm pretty sure I sent you my team this morning and I was like, I have exact funds to make these moves, and it's really challenging from that point of view because I was like, oh crap, are they going to be changing in price? If so, do I just do this now? But where possible, I'm leaving my transfers till the last minute, but I know you've gone early, in the past, like just recently, right? You went early on your moves. Was that mostly down to prices, or was it something else that sort of?
Yeah, so 2 weeks ago, like I made the move, just on the last price change. So like Saturday lunchtime, our time, right? So it, like the last price change before the deadline, and by that time there was no information on the double game week for Liverpool. So I thought, okay, well, probably the chance of that is very low now, so I can make my move, and the players that I wanted was going up in price. So it's like, oh, okay, well, the
Yeah.
risk was very low, so I made the move. But yeah, obviously, the announcement came like what, an hour or two before the deadline, and that caught me out as well. So even though the move itself wasn't great, but I wouldn't have made that move if I knew about the double game week, because
Yeah.
I brought in Gordon, right, and I wouldn't have if I knew that Liverpool was definitely
Yeah.
doubling, and then just last week I made quite early move to get KDB and KDB in as part of my double move, and it like the moves themselves was okay, and obviously I made, because yeah, my like it was mainly because I was going to be priced out if I waited,
Sure.
because
Yeah.
throughout the week they were predicted to go up. So so that was okay as well. But then at the end of the day, like at the deadline, we knew that KDB was banned. So once again, like the move might have been delayed
Yeah.
if I waited. um, so I knew the risk anyway, and so it was fine, and I was fine with the moves regardless. And I decided to play KDB anyway, which was fine because he came on and still got an assist. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, normally I don't make early transfers at all. So,
No.
and
No.
and those
Same.
are the reasons why. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really tough because like there's been quite a few. Like obviously just kind of scanning X and having a look at what people are saying and stuff. It's really challenging. Shout out to everyone that's on YouTube listening and sort of here with us as well. There's some interesting like comments coming up as well. So I've got one up here from Diraj. So he's saying, having not so good bench helped me with decisions. Having a good first bench helped me from reacting against KDB benching last week. Won't say no. I look for any leaks if it's out there. It's one of those things where you've got to, like, now that you know about it. Shamil, that sucks. Your rank fell by 99k. Yeah, sorry to hear that. And hey, Boo Boo as well. And we will cover some of your questions, like thoughts on Barkley. We'll definitely cover that off as well. Akib, lovely to have you as well. And yeah, happy Valentine's Day to you as well. I don't really celebrate it. It's really funny. Like I've just not really been into it, and so it's just a normal day. But flowers are on the way, Akib.
Well, happy Valentine's Day for anyone who
Yeah,
celebrate, I guess.
exactly. All right. Well, look, let's crack on and take a look at our teams. So let's have a look at our game week 24. And so, Tien, I've got your team on the screen, and I know you made a comment about, do we need to cover this? But look, let's we talk about the highs and lows, right? Like this is it. And I've definitely been having a lot of lows in my season so far, and it has been tough. But look, this is what we do. We talk about the highs and lows, and we discuss some of the if I personally never have regrets when it comes to FPL, but it'd be great to get your perspective of how your game week went.
So if anyone's seeing on the screen, it wasn't a very good week for me. I'd only had 63 points and with a -4, so that's 59 net point. And so that was a huge red arrow for me. So the team was fine in my opinion, and I think I didn't change anything. I locked my team pretty early in the day, and with the deadline or pre-deadline leaks and everything, I just kept everything as is because I thought I had the right setup, and it was going well. Man City to start with. Haaland captain got good points, and KDB came on and got an assist as well, so it wasn't a problem there. Liverpool, Diogo Jota got some points. Trent got an assist before he was substituted at halftime. Even Solanke, put in an assist as well. So it was all going well and good until until the Arsenal game. So
that was a surprise, right?
That was a killer because obviously, as you can see, that I had no Arsenal at all in my team. I had Saliba in my squad, but I benched him. So basically, that game completely destroyed my game week. I think I was on a 25% green arrow before that game, and it turned into almost 100% red arrow. So my rank basically doubled after that single game. And then obviously after that, Aston Villa and Man United, I have Watkins and Alex Moreno. They did nothing. And then eventually Palmer got a couple of late assists and sort of pulled my rank back slightly, I think, because he was so highly owned anyway. So I think at the end it was 80-something% red arrow, down to 100 and, what was it, 101?
101, yeah.
Okay, which was basically back to about where I was in game week 17. So basically, a few steps forward and then a huge step back to when I was doing quite well after game week 17.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I mean, sometimes you get big gains and sometimes you get big losses, and it's just part of the game. And obviously, that will have to make me rethink the strategy a little bit and how long can I go without Arsenal players, especially Saka as well. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think we can talk about it in a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And PSB just said only good thing for Tien this game week was United winning 2-1 at Villa Park. FPL was brutal. Sorry, mate. Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah,
was a good
yeah,
win for
I
you
watched.
guys.
Yeah, I watched that game, and obviously, very happy with the win. But I was thinking, oh, maybe if Watkin can, could just score a goal, and then we could still win. But that
Yeah,
would be nice. But anyway, it wasn't to be.
no, it's a
No,
tough
but yeah,
ride.
it was a good win for us, and yeah, I was very happy with that as well. Yep.
Yeah, totally, totally. What was your thinking around benching Saliba? Because, like, obviously, I don't know, because we know that West Ham have had really um, they've not had a great run, like in terms of scoring goals and things like that. It's been a bit, quiet for them, and so for me, I guess, like, you've got a stronger sort of, the three that you did play were the stronger three, I guess. Like, if I look at your team, but yeah, back in my mind, I was like, yeah, I'll play, because I ended up benching Estupinian, and I'm glad that I did because he got another 0 points, I think. But
Mm.
yeah, it's a shame because, like, we wouldn't have expected Saliba and Gabriel getting those points, right?
Nah. Yeah, I mean it's away at West Ham, right? So even though they haven't been that great, but I didn't think that Arsenal will keep a clean sheet away.
Yeah, fair.
Whereas Doughty played Sheffield United. Tran is Tran, and Moreno has been quite attacking as well. So I sort of like and they playing at home, so I thought that he
Yeah,
he could potentially do something.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, at the end of the day, I made the decisions based on what or who I think is the stronger options, so
exactly.
that I
Yeah.
start them, and then yeah, I can't control the outcome. I mean, yeah, if I could foresee that Arsenal will win 6-0 away from home, then then of course I
No,
would
well, this is
I would
it. You
never
just
bench.
you
But
just
yeah,
can't. You just can't. I saw
yeah.
someone's team that had Saka on first bench, had Saliba, and I think Gabriel as well. So they had double, Arsenal defense. And look, there was some jokes going, like, underneath that tweet, saying they've got to be a West Ham supporter or something like that because they benched all three. I mean, they had a really strong, starting 11, but they benched all three of their Arsenal players, right? So it was one of those weeks where 6-0 just was not on anyone's radar that is even a possibility. Mannon's just said, and West Ham being good at set pieces, both centre back scoring was a surprise. Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's weird, but there you go. My team. So thanks, Tien. Yeah, it's tough, but you're still having a great season. So like, we've got to just move on, from it. My team, so I got 84 points, really happy with that. I'm basically playing FPL, I feel like, from a week by week perspective. I'm just looking at my team and I'm just going, okay, well, this is probably the best that I can do, best that I can play. Let me just try and see what happens. I think the biggest, like, deliberation that I had was whether I play Solanke or bench, Solanke. I wasn't sure. And that was, with either Palmer benching in mind or Richarlison benching in mind, or Saka even. I was even tempted to bench Saka against West Ham as well. So it's not like, what we've seen isn't sort of like, like a lot of people were thinking about benching Saka. And it's really tough because obviously Solanke has had some good game weeks as well. So, and he has been playing well. So yeah, it's really hard to say. But look, I've got Dubravka in goal. I feel like Dubravka's been a really shitty transfer, like, because there's not been that many clean sheets. It's not been, like, I don't know, he's just not been playing very well, which is bizarre. I did start Gabriel, really happy about that. He's just been an interesting gift for me this season because I obviously, I had the Gabriel gate right at the beginning of the season, and then ended up sort of keeping him, so he's still there. So I'm glad that I kept him in the team because, yeah, otherwise it probably would have been taking him out, bringing in Saliba, which I don't know, like from a points point of view, I feel like Gabriel and Saliba are probably more or less, in the similar sort of points kind of bracket now. Porro has been interesting. I noticed you took Porro out early. I've still got Porro in the team. Not sure if I'm going to, keep Porro or not going forward, but and Trent is probably the biggest talking point as well. I know we'll sort of cover that in a moment. And then I had Saka, Palmer. Those last two assists were just great. Fantastic. But I think Foden was a little bit disappointing. He was playing out really wide, which was weird. But again, it's Pep, and we're going to see that happening. I think the interesting conversation is going to be around obviously Liverpool players and then City players with double game week in mind. Richarlison didn't do that well. Jota, I'm glad that I brought Jota in. Jota did great. Watkins was annoying, he's either all in or he's out. There's no there isn't sort of an in between with him at the moment, which is very, very frustrating because I feel like we can't get rid of him. They've got some good fixtures coming up. So I think he'll probably stay in my team. But Haaland, of course, captaincy on that. So happy to keep... happy to sort of switch my armband on Haaland. There was a moment where I was thinking, do I captain Jota? I was close in captaining Jota. I had serious Darwin for FOMO as well. And then, I ended up just putting the armband on Haaland, very last minute, just left it. I think I was looking out for the news again. I was looking out for the leaks. And then I was like, nah, I'm just going to have to keep it as it is and just move on from it and not overthink this. Anyway, on the bench, Turner, Solanke, 4 points. He got an assist. So, yeah, fair enough. Estupinian 0, Taylor 0. I don't know if Taylor is going to be playing again. I'm not sure if he's fit. It looks like, I think you posted something in our group chat, and yeah, so that's good news at least. Like Taylor's going to be fit because I feel like I need Taylor fairly soon, especially with the blank game week coming up as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we saw him in picture in training. So yeah, finger crossed he'll come in for you in 26.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, great week for you. Like 84
Yeah.
is a big score. So yeah,
No,
well done. And I think
it was a good
I
jump.
think you
Yeah.
got the benching right for one, because I know that a lot of people have been unlucky with like benching big point as well. So I think Watkins, Foden, so in the last couple of weeks, like people have benched or sold people with big scores, and I know some people have sold Saka as well.
Yeah.
For this game week. So yeah, it's just the fact that we got so many options, selling good players for good players because of the doubles and blanks and all that. And yeah, having a strong squad mean that you might be benching players that score on the bench, and I think it's just the way it is. But yeah, well done on a very, very good week.
Yeah, no, thank you. Like, it's been a yo-yo. I think I looked at FPL Optimized. If you haven't looked at that, it's really worth having a look at, like, your season review so far. And, at the moment, like, my graph is supposed to be a steady kind of, steady Eddie at the top there. And my current, like, I guess the points that I'm getting and where I'm at is going down, 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 down. But then it's like up, down, down. And I'm like, whoa, I'm just having a yo-yo season now. But yeah, this good point by FPL Crisis. So another one of our Aussie managers. So with the blanks to follow, it feels like a bit like chicken and egg right now. Do we make immediate transfers and then use chips when needed, or stick to a chip strategy and make transfers around that plan? It's a really good question, and we are going to jump straight into planning now and have a think about what it looks like for us now. So let's do that. Let's have a look at our buddy Ben Krellin, who is an absolute legend when it comes to spreadsheets and kind of giving us an update of all the things that we should be planning around. And so what I've got on the screen, if anyone is listening to audio version eventually, which I probably will do actually. So this time round, for those that are watching now, I mentioned it earlier in the stream. I haven't sort of put this on Spaces this time. It's the first time I've not putting it on Spaces and doing it directly, doing my stream directly through YouTube. But I did get a couple of messages asking about audio only, so I might explore that. But let me know if you're interested in audio only version. Can you just let me know in the chat that you're put your hand up or something like that, and just let me know if you're keen for it, because it's hard to say whether that's going to be a format that people want to consume or not. Anyway, so I've got Ben Crennan's latest sort of fixture ticker with the awesome planning that he does. And why would we do all this planning? I've got my board behind me still, and I still do like the physical planning. So I take this and still do the physical planning like how I like to do it anyway. But I love that Ben, does all that thinking and chucks it into a diagram like this, or a sheet like this. So yeah, let's talk about the doubles. So game week 25. Pretty good double for a couple of teams. So we've got, of course, we've got, Liverpool, Man City doubling there. Chelsea, they're playing, Man City are playing Chelsea and Brentford. Brentford are playing Liverpool, Man City, which is not such a great double for Brentford. Luton one is okay. I noticed you brought in Doughty into your team as well. And of course, Liverpool probably have the best double going into this game week. So with Brentford and Luton. How many players do we think is sort of a good number to have in our teams? From a, given how many doubles we have, like what is a good amount?
So I think based on the statistics on live FPL, I think the average of the engaged managers at least would be 6. So six double game week players would be something that I think try to aim for.
Yeah.
But obviously keeping in mind that quality is over quantity as well. So um, out of those 4 teams, obviously City should be the one that if possible you try to triple up, because they have a very good double with 2 home games. And they don't have a blank in 26. So that'll solve both problems as well. Now, on the other hand, obviously Liverpool do have a good double, but they blank straight after. So if you triple up on Liverpool, for example, then you may potentially have a problem for 26. Now, obviously you can transfer 1 or 2 of them out, but if you take a hit to bring someone in and then you take a hit to remove them in 26, then you would really hope that the players that you have will score big to counter those hits. Brentford and Luton don't have a good double in 25, but then they have some other benefits, obviously, if you look
Yes.
longer term.
Yes.
So Luton have a double now and they're playing in 26, but I brought in Doughty and I don't mind benching him in 26, and then they have another double in 28 as well. So if you can manage that and kind of have 3 defenders for 26, then, or 3 or 4 defenders playing defenders in 26, then that's fine, because you can just bench him. Brentford, on the other hand, is the only team that have a double in 25.
Yeah.
No blank in 26 and no blank in 29 as well, if you look even further. So
Yeah.
basically the fixtures run isn't ideal, but if you need a player and you kind of looking longer term, where you don't want a free hit in 29, for example, then a Brentford player or 2 could be good options as well. So in my opinion, you try to aim for 6, but
Yeah.
the tripling up on City would probably be the priority, and then maybe 2 Liverpool, and then perhaps 1 from either Luton or Brentford, depending on the team structure
Yeah.
and what sort of
I'm gonna write that down.
yeah what sort of transfer that he can make that sort of fit in with your team. Because so in my opinion, obviously Haaland is almost a must-have
Yeah.
for Liverpool. And then I think the second best option from them would be Foden, because it's sort of like the balance between a good asset and not too expensive.
Mm.
Um, and then the third option, in my team, I've got KDB already, so I think I've got the three best sort of attacking options from City.
Yeah.
A lot of people might not be able to get to KDB. Then maybe a defender could be an option as well. But obviously, keeping in mind that getting the right defender from City isn't the most straightforward. Predicting who's going to play both games, and then City do have the tendency to just sleep a goal or two, or just normally just let one shot, one go, and then you lose that clean sheet. So, but I mean, at the end of the day, two home games, they will probably keep at least one clean sheet. So even if one clean sheets and an appearance point, you're looking at 8-9 points, which is not too bad at all.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then from Liverpool, I think Diogo Jota is great.
Mm.
Darwin Núñez is always going to be an explosive option that you could
Tell
always.
tell everyone what you said about Darwin Núñez. They're getting
Oh,
that ticket.
yeah, it's like, so yeah, it's pretty much like Powerball, right? When
Yeah.
occasionally we'll have like a big jackpot for Powerball for anyone who play like who play lottery, right? Um, so obviously you need to get a ticket if you want to win a jackpot. But normally when you buy a ticket, you don't expect to win,
Yeah.
right? You just buy the ticket because you're in it for a chance to win the
Mm.
jackpot. So Darwin is exactly the same. Like, you don't expect the outcomes, you don't expect the returns, but you know that the potential is there. And if you're lucky, you could win a jackpot. But if you're not in it, then of course you're not going to win. So it's up to you, whether you want that sort of super high upside or not. Um,
I think I do. I think I
I
do. Like
I
I've been
I feel
avoiding
like I do
him.
too. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like I do too. Yeah.
I've been avoiding him. So as a Liverpool supporter, you'd think I would probably have like Darwin in my team. Obviously I had Salah in the team and I've got Jota and Trent at the moment, but I want to buy the Powerball, like I want to buy that ticket. And I completely agree with you. You've got to be in it to win it, right? And you've got to have that mentality. And I think given the fixtures, they do have the best fixture. And given the role that Darwin plays in that team, right? Like we've seen him, like he may not pull off the shots all the time. He may not sort of like I don't know, like he is frustrating to watch, but I have to admit, watching that last match, right? And not having Darwin in my team, it was the first time that I was watching that match and I felt slightly nervous as well. I was like anxious, nervous, and excited at the same time. It was, yeah, but yeah, I feel like I kind
Yeah,
of want to bring him in.
yeah, Darwin is someone who you would be nervous if you own him, and you would be nervous if you don't own him. So it's just one of those special case where, yeah, it will be either way, you'll be nervous watching the
Yeah,
game.
yeah. Yeah, Ryan just said that he already bought the ticket. He already got the ticket to the Powerball last
Yep.
game week.
Yeah.
PSB made a really good point here as well. So, in the double game week fever, we must not forget that Spurs have Wolves home, and Arsenal have Burnley away. Villa have Fulham away, and yeah, a lot of good single game week
I
fixtures. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, because we tend to have sort of tunnel vision into like a double game week, or the black game week for that matter, in terms of like, oh, we've got to transfer these players in, or we have to avoid these players because they have a blank. And I mean, I suffer that all the time. I tell myself every single week to not buy Richardson because he's gonna play in 26, and I've been paying the price for you know every week, because he he seemed to score most weeks, and that's very very true. Like a lot of people will be selling Richarlison, and I think you may be considering that as
I
well.
am considering it. Yeah.
And who is to say that Tottenham will get 2 or 3 goals against Wolves, and then Richarlison may get a couple there, and then your double game week may get nothing.
Mm,
It can happen. So yeah, that is very true. And I think the other point is you gotta look longer term as well,
yeah.
because you may get a player in for the double, but then over the course of 4 or 5 game weeks, um, a double follow up by a blank
Mm,
is the same two fixtures as someone who has a game week now and game week or a game this week and next week. So it's the
yeah.
same number of games. So um, yeah, and then transfers in and transfers out, will probably cost you 4 points.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's a balancing act, and I think for that reason, when we come to the to our teams and the plans, I might just get a single game week player in for this game week, because
Yeah.
I might look longer term and say, hey, I don't like any double game week players. Might as
Mm,
well just get a single game week player and hope that over the course of 4 or 5 game weeks it
yeah.
pays off. Because it's exactly the same thing with Arsenal. Like the Arsenal games, a lot of people were selling Arsenal players, right, to prepare for the double game week by getting Liverpool player and Man City player, which is fine. But then
Mm,
they can punish you for exactly that reason, that
yeah.
what they can do in a single game week. So it happened before, but it can happen after as well. One after you sold him, let's say if you're selling Saka this game week for a Man City player or a
That's
Liverpool
right.
player, you may outscore him this game week, but then
Yeah.
Saka has a game next game week. Like, who is to say that they can't score, a few goals against Newcastle? So and
Exactly.
then you'll be back to square one. So
Yeah.
so yeah, it's a very good point. I think we got to keep in mind that it's not one game week we're playing, right?
That's right.
We've got to look at the medium term and the long term as well, and
Yeah.
what
I agree.
what you want to do, in 29, for example, is very
Mm,
important, because whether you want to free hit or not would determine what transfers you make, because you don't have a lot of transfers between now and then. Like,
no.
obviously this week you gotta focus on 25.
Yeah.
Next week you gotta focus on 26. So the transfers that have already been taken
Exactly.
up, and then you've got 27. Potentially you could transfer in, Spurs player, for example. I think they're going to be very
Yeah.
popular transfers in. And then 28, you probably need to focus on transfer ins like Bournemouth and Luton players,
Mm, mm,
maybe for the double. Because if let's say if you sold Solanke, then you probably want to get him back. So that another transfer.
that's
Um,
right. I
so so
know.
then so
I feel like
then
I'm
20
banking
by
that one.
29, yeah, then in 29
Yeah.
you've got no transfers left, and so I think at least have a look, and maybe make some sort of a preliminary decision to say, okay, I
Yeah.
don't mind. Let's say if I don't mind to free hit in 29, then my transfer will be a bit more
Mm,
free in terms of I can do what I want, to maximize the points in the next 3 or 4 game weeks before 29. But if you are determined that you don't want a free hit in 29, then your transfer will be quite limited, I think.
I completely agree with you. I think at the moment, I know we're going to talk about chip strategy in a mo as well, but at the moment, I am considering the free hit option for 29 because I don't know. Like, I know that there's potentially other, sort of doubles coming up towards the end of the season as well. I think it's like game week 34 and then game week 37. It's really hard to, honestly, I don't think I want to kind of wait that long as well. Like, if I have an urgent need for it, then I'd rather just use it and just get it out the way as well. So, yeah, it's definitely sort of on my mind there. But completely agree about the single game week players. So I think this is one of the reasons why I'm considering keeping Saka, because I was on the cusp of getting rid of him even last game week, to bring in KDB again, like that KDB FOMO. And then we got some, not that sort of determined whether I made that transfer or not, but I think getting those early leaks with KDB potentially being benched, I was like, oh, okay, I can. That's one FOMO that I can sort of, just kind of put to bay and not think about too much. But yeah, I decided I'd hold on to Saka, and I'm glad that I did, because obviously he got me points there. But I am thinking about getting rid of Richarlison, but mostly because Spurs blank in game week 26. And so despite them having Wolves, I'm like, well, do I really want to keep, Richarlison? He's been playing really well. Yes, he has. Son's back in the team. I don't know what that means. It's not going to be a huge price change if I take him out, bring him in later on if I choose to. So, yeah, at the moment, like when we look at our bus teams, I feel like that is a viable option there to, take him out, and potentially bring KDB in. And so this is where like it's really tempting. So I completely agree. Like you mentioned, just to kind of round up, like what you said earlier, you're suggesting that we try and have like about 6 double game week players in our team going into game week 25. So at least sort of 3 City players. And you're right, like from a combination point of view, I think most of us will have Haaland in the team. Most of us probably already have Foden in the team, but if you don't have Foden, you've got KDB. I'm leaning towards not bringing in a City defender just because that spot just seems to be, a little bit up in the air. So I'm hesitant with that. So I might bring in KDB, but if I don't, then I probably will lean towards just picking a City defender. But at the same time, I'm like, wow, Liverpool have got this amazing two fixtures. Now, Tony's been scoring. Tony has been getting the points, right? And I know they've got a really tough game week in Liverpool and City, but Tony has looked good as well. So I don't think Liverpool will keep a clean sheet. Like this is, I don't know. Like I'm a supporter and I love Liverpool, but when it comes to clean sheets, it's very challenging. And so I don't know if we'll keep a clean sheet against Brentford. Luton, I think, will probably be okay. It's a home fixture as well. But Brentford away, I feel like it's probably not going to be a clean sheet one. So this is where Trent, for example, is a bit of an issue, for us in the team. So you're a Trent owner. I'm a Trent owner. What are you thinking about Trent at the moment?
Yeah, so I think Tran, he hasn't been seen in training at all. I think that, yeah, so there was videos of Liverpool training going around this morning on Twitter, and Salah was picture in or
Mm,
was filmed in training. Now I read a tweet that Salah was sort of took part in part of the training, but not mostly non-contact, and he didn't take part in the sort of the heavier contact part of the training, whereas Tran was totally absent. So I think, and he has been sort of playing with some injuries as well. So last game he was taken off, at halftime because of that, and because of that, I think he hasn't been looking great either.
mm,
So for all of those reasons, I have serious doubt about his
yeah,
playtime in this
same.
double game week. And given that he's so expensive, um, I think he's a sell. Um, so unless Klopp come and say, "Yep, no, he's all good. He's been training for the last few days and
Yeah.
he's all good to go," then that's a different story. But naturally, you would think that they would probably be cautious with him, um,
Mm,
especially with the Carabao final, Cup final coming up straight after the double as well.
yeah.
He will probably want to be safe for that game. So yeah, I have serious doubt that he will play 2 games. He
Mm,
may play one. And I think, yeah, for that reason, I think there's better option elsewhere. And the fact that downgrading Trent to anyone would give you a lot of money to upgrade your midfielder or forward to
I
much better
agree.
options. So Yeah, so I'm leaning towards selling myself.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, I'm definitely leaning that way as well, and uh, yeah, I'm not feeling confident about it. But I have noticed a lot of managers thinking, do we bring in like a Bradley? Do we bring in like a VVD? What are your thoughts on that? Because look, personally, there was a moment where I was thinking about Bradley, but not because I wanted Bradley in the team, but because he's so cheap as well. And so I'm then, taking a punt that he might get some game time, might get a return if Trent isn't playing, and he's super cheap. And so, if I'm thinking about wildcarding a little bit soon after, like a couple of game weeks later or so, then I'm tempted, to kind of just do that. But then with Salah coming back on the radar as well, and I don't know, like I might end up just having two Liverpool players, but because Liverpool are likely to bank in 29 as well, I probably will avoid. So I think having two Liverpool players is probably enough. But what about like a Van Dijk, instead?
I I think if you already have those players, then obviously you keep and play them. But I wouldn't buy anyone at the moment, just because they have a blank straight after, right? And that so straight away you've got a problem. And then yeah, as you said, they have a blank in 29 as well, and before that they play Man City.
Mm,
So the only good game after this is 27. They plays Nottingham Forest. So if you buy, like a Van Dijk, you play them, you play him this game week, and then potentially you play in 27, and that's it. Like that's a lot of money
yeah.
to be sitting on the bench. So I think it's an avoid. Any Liverpool defenders is a avoid.
Mm.
I think Bradley could be a great cheap option, but you never know
It's just an
how
extra
how many minutes
transfer.
he's got.
Yeah.
And I think I don't mind Bradley if you've got enough defenders for
Mm.
26, for
Yeah.
example. Like, it's like I don't mind. I just getting Bradley in for this game week. I hope that he will play at least one full game and maybe two, but after that I'll just bench him. Then that's
Yeah.
fine. But a lot of teams, I don't think have that luxury of having an empty
No.
defender spot that he can afford to leave around. So there's other options that he can go for, like a Luton defender like Doughty.
Yes.
He's a good
Yeah.
defender, like not great fixtures, but at least that he'll play and have two doubles,
Yeah,
right?
I think this has probably
And
been the trickiest period, right? Because whilst like we want Doughty, for example, and they've got another double coming up, which is actually a better double, I feel like they've got
yeah,
Palace and Bournemouth, right? That's actually a better double. So it does make sense to go there. I think it's the blank that kind of puts me off a little bit, which is why I was like looking out for any Charlie Taylor news because I need Charlie Taylor
yeah,
to now play.
understandable. Like I got him because I can manage to still have four defenders in 26, no problem. But if that was the case, then you could look at a Brentford defender.
Yeah.
So I think Reguilon is 4.4. He's been looking pretty attacking as well. So obviously, you don't expect clean sheet this game week, but
No.
he
Yeah.
may come away with
A return. Yeah.
a return, an attacking return, and he plays in 26 and he plays in 29 as well. So that's sort of like a longer term option. I don't think it's bad
Yeah.
at all. Alternatively, you could just like forget about the double game week players. Just get us a good,
A good
solid,
single. Yeah.
cheap single game week defender that plays through
Yeah.
all of these games for you. Because at the end of the day, you got an extra game of Man City away. Well,
Mm.
you'd be lucky to get a point,
Yeah. I
let alone
agree.
two. So so
Yeah.
so so treat that as a single game week. Same with Luton. Obviously, for Luton, you are more hoping, that with another double in 28, you kind of get that sort of some of the points back. But yeah, you shouldn't be forced to go to it just because they have a double.
Yeah. Agree. Agree. And yeah, I think if I had to sort of prioritize, and I guess that's what we're doing, right? We're looking at sort of what's the best option of a potentially bad bunch of fixtures, right? And yeah, and that's exactly like how I'm trying to look at it as well. So Doughty is firmly on my radar, and I think like the potential triple move that I'm thinking about, which is like for a -4 at the moment, does include, you know, Darwin and potentially KDB, but yeah, it means that I'm going to have to go really cheap on the defender to try and sort of squeeze that in, or I don't take out Richarlison. I've got to take out a more expensive midfielder, which there aren't many. Like, you know, that means taking out Saka, means taking out Jota or Foden. Now, given they have doubles, that's a non-negotiable thing, right? So, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to maybe succumb to going for a cheaper one if I really, really want KDB. As well as Darwin. I think that's where I may need to pick, you know, the blue pill or the red pill, unfortunately. But Tien, like from your perspective, like in terms of attack, what should we be prioritizing? Like from our front line, so from a forwards point of view, like is like obviously we've got Haaland in our teams. I presume most people probably keep Watkins in their team as well. But if we had to bring in, because I think there was a message earlier. Let me just try and find it. Is it normal to think that to think about bringing in Alvarez? So really good question. You know, like he's getting minutes and there's going to be rotation, as we know. So is it sort of an option to bring in Alvarez? Those that have that luxury of like thinking about bringing in an Alvarez as well.
Um, I wouldn't be bringing in Alvarez at this stage. I think with the return of KDB and Haaland, Alvarez, even though he's been playing, but he kind of plays in a sort of more, you know, supporting role behind Haaland. So kind of like attacking eight or whatever you want to call it, 10/10 role. But I don't think he has been great in that position. Like, I mean, obviously he's a great football player, like he helps the team and all that. But in terms of like being directly involved in the attacking output and therefore FPL points, I don't think that's the best option for him. Yeah, and unfortunately I can't see how Haaland will be dropped for Alvarez to play up front.
Yeah, yeah,
So for that reason, I don't think Alvarez is a buy. Now, obviously, some people do have Alvarez and Haaland and KDB slash Foden, then potentially you would keep and hope that, you know, Alvarez would play, you know, most minutes and hopefully get an attacking return. But yeah, definitely not a buy now, I don't think.
yeah.
So in terms of like buying, once again, it's like like Tony is an interesting case, right? Because he has been returning pretty much every game since he's, you know,
Exactly.
come
Yeah.
back. Has a double, not the best fixture, but you know he plays in 26 and he plays in 29. So for someone who doesn't want a free hit in 29 or doesn't have the free hit at all, then I think he's a good option because then you know you just get him in and just keep him there. Um, I would expect him to score.
Yeah.
You know, Liverpool and Man City, I think he will probably score a goal
Yeah, I
in
reckon
those two
so.
games. So we're looking at, you know, potentially 8 points, up to 10 points with bonus. So that's not bad at all, right? You know, you get someone in and you're expecting, you know, 8 to 10 points. It's not bad at all. But Darwin, on the other hand, you know, he could give you 2 points over two games,
Yeah.
or he could easily give you 20 points over two games. Like that's entirely possible. Like, you know, playing Luton at home is a great fixture,
Yeah.
given the big chances that he's been having. I
He'll
mean,
just
you
be
know,
causing
taking
havoc, right? There'll just be
um,
chaos.
there'll be chaos and you know, just on one of those days, he'll have the right boots on and he sleep on the right side and the night before or something, and then he will just bang a hat trick easily. I mean, that's not unimaginable, right? And then you're looking at, you know, 20 plus points over the double. So that is the kind of thing, like, you know, do you want to save sort of long-term options in
Yeah.
Tony, or do you want like a more explosive option in Darwin? And then potentially you could transfer him straight out in 26, or maybe you keep him in 27 and then maybe selling him in 28 if you don't have a Solanke, for example, or you could get even like a Luton striker in 28.
Yeah.
So that's not bad at all. Beyond that, I don't think there's anyone else. I know that there are other options like Hoyland in Man United. He has been playing really well as well. Basically, been scoring pretty much every game. Um, they
Actually,
have
that's a really
pretty
good point. They've
they
got
have
some
really
good
decent
fixtures.
fixture. Yeah, so they
Yeah.
have really decent fixture except for the Man City game. But
I think we're
obviously,
used to ignoring United.
that's one thing, but obviously the other thing is like they don't have any double, so
Yeah.
it's natural for us to ignore him or ignore any Man United players, but keeping in mind that they don't have doubles and they still potentially playing in 29 as well, so that doesn't help you if you want
Yeah.
to
Fair.
prioritize that. So I think in my opinion it's just like you either keep you keep Watkins and Solanke, um, and just attack elsewhere, like in midfield, for example. Or if you really want to get to make a forward transfer, I think either Tony or Darwin.
I like it. I like
Yeah.
it. Tien, what are you thinking about chips? So from a chip strategy point of view, what's your what's
Yeah.
on your mind?
So
Like, yeah.
yeah. So I think I'm pretty set on the triple captain
Yeah.
in 25. So it's going to be on Haaland. The Salah news, returning to training doesn't sway me one bit because I still don't believe that he start both games. He
Yeah.
could, but I will have no plan to bring him in. And yeah, leaks or no leaks, it's not going to sway me. So triple captain in 25. Now, if you remember, I've already played my bench boost, right? So it's gone.
Yes.
So so
And you
so
had a
I think
great bench
that's
boost. Like that
yeah.
was
So I
fantastic.
yeah. Yeah, so I'm glad that it's out of the way because then I don't have to have that in the thinking. So then it's the wild card and the free hit. So initially I was pretty set on trying to not free hit in 29, and then try to add into 29 and wild card in 30 or 31, and then
Yeah.
play the setup for the sort of blank slash double 34, and then potentially free hitting in 37, which is the biggest double game week.
Yeah.
Uh, but the more I think about it, the more I'm leaning towards free hitting 29. The main reason for that is what I explained earlier. Like with the number of transfers I have, if I prioritize 29, I'll be bringing in players that I don't really like,
Yeah, I
and
agree. Yeah.
I'll be selling players that I like. The City players, I don't have a lot of Arsenal players. I'm thinking of bringing them in. But if I prioritize 29, I can't because I have to buy players that play in 29.
That's
Like
right.
Bowen, for example. Like Bowen hasn't been great. So do I really want to buy Bowen when I could buy Saka and
Exactly.
maximize the points between now and 29? And then I just free hit in 29. So I don't
Yeah.
worry about that playing at all. So if that's and it's basically what I do this game week is I think it's gonna dictate that in terms of my transfers. Now, having said that, there still could be a possibility that there may be FA Cup upset, right? There's always going to be potential upsets in the cup, and then suddenly you have teams playing in 29 that you didn't expect to. So, for
Yeah.
example, Chelsea losing to Leeds United, I believe. Then the Arsenal Chelsea
That's right.
game will be back on. That will solve a lot of problem. Then potentially you don't need a free hit anymore.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm not fixated with not free hitting in 29, so that my transfer can just focus more on the short term.
Yeah.
So if that's what I do, then I will probably try to free hit in 29. Then my transfer will be more towards setting up for 34.
Yeah. Exactly.
So now
Yeah. I
I
know this
did
doesn't
ask
have it.
Ben
Yeah.
Krellin. Yeah, it doesn't have it, but I did ask Ben Krellin in this tweet to find out when we would potentially know about the double game week 34, and he reckoned it would be it or it could be the international break between game week 29 and 30.
Ah, okay.
So 29 is when the FA Cup quarterfinal,
Yeah,
right? So
of
obviously
course.
after 29, we would know
Mm,
which teams will progress to the semi-finals, which happen in game week 34. So those teams will blank in 34. But then there's a free midweek in 34 where they potentially can move some games in there. So some teams that normally would play the team that go into the
mm,
semi-finals if they have the free, and their sort of opponent also have the free midweek, then they can potentially play in the midweek. So they become a non-blank team, right? So they will play a single game week, and there potentially could be a couple of teams that have double as well. So
yeah.
it'll be like a weird situations where you have some blank, some reschedule single game week fixture, and then some double.
Mm,
And Brent Cullen reckoned that we could know that by game week 30 deadline, which is going to be great.
yeah, that's good.
So after 29, we will know a lot more about 34, and then
Mm,
whatever goes into 34 will dictate what go into 37 afterwards, because basically any teams that are left over will go
yeah.
into 37. So the picture will become a lot clearer then. So that's currently my thinking. If I free hit in 29, then I will try to navigate through the 34 with free transfers, and then I'll
Mm,
wildcard in 35, setting up for the double 37 and basically the rest of the season.
nice. Yeah.
And that's because I don't have the bench boost. So
Yeah, that's fair.
so yeah.
Yeah, I'm currently thinking triple captaincy in 25 as well. Look, my preference would have been to, if Salah was, back fit, my preference would have been to, put the armband on him for the triple captaincy. But I'm going to be going Haaland in this case. I did have game week 30, 31 on my radar to wildcard. I still do have my bench boost as well. So yeah, I need to kind of like think about that a little bit more, like with when to play that. But would you say that even game week 25 is a good time for a bench boost if you have a decent, you know, team? Like if you, because we saw a lot of people wildcard a little bit earlier. So there's people thinking about wildcarding now. So game week 25, there's a lot of people wildcarded in game week 24 as well. So yeah, I even think like bench boost 25, like if I didn't have like Charlie Taylor, for instance, who look, he's in training from the looks of it. But yeah, I reckon, yeah, with a couple of transfers, I've got 2 free transfers. So with 2 free transfers, maybe a hit also, I've got a decent bench boost, but it just seems like triple captaincy is the play this game week, and putting the armband on Haaland as well. What does it mean for those, like, just from Haaland's obviously EO perspective? I know like we don't want to focus on EOs and things like that too much, but it's been really interesting for me this season because I've had a worse season than last season anyway. I'm finding that like I'm looking at what like the top 10k has got for the players that I've got, and then on live FPL, and then I'm looking at around my rank. Now around my rank, Haaland captaincy was fantastic for me, but in top 10k probably wouldn't have got as much gains, right? But what does it mean from a triple captaincy point of view? So if you own Haaland and you only captain Haaland, versus triple captaincy, are you likely to just not make any gains? Is that what that means?
Essentially, yeah. So I am predicting that Haaland's EO, or at least in the top 10 or top 100K, will be around 200%.
Okay.
So 200% EO mean that if you captain him, you gain nothing.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you triple captain him, then you gain about 100%. So basically, think about the easiest way to think about is like everyone have 2 Haalands. Everyone around you have 2 Haalands, and you
Mm,
have 2 Haalands as well because you captain him. Then that's sort of like
yeah.
even out. And then if you triple captain, you have 3 Haalands in
You
your
have
team.
3.
So then
Yeah.
so then you gain 1 extra Haaland. Basically,
Mm,
that's the easiest way to think about. And I
yeah, I
think
like
yeah,
that.
I think he's going to be around 200%, or maybe just over. as well. But on the other hand, I mean, if someone's team is well set up for the bench boost in 25, like you look at the bench, it's like I really like that bench. I think it's perfectly fine to
Yeah.
to carry on with the bench boost. Like of course, you you lose out on the Haaland extra point for the triple captaincy, uh, but potentially you could have another option for triple captaincy later on as well. And I think you shouldn't be comparing the gain that you get from the bench boot and
Yeah.
with the gain that you get from the triple captain. It's more about bench boot the bench boost gain now compared to the bench boot gain potentially in the future,
Yeah.
and comparing the triple captain gain now and the triple captain gain in the future game week. So for example, if you trust Solanke and Bournemouth,
Yeah.
they have really good set of fixtures, Sheffield United and Luton at home in 28. So
Yeah, it's
that's
a good
one
one.
possibility. That's one possibility for triple captain. Um, Maybe Saka in 34 if they have a double,
Yeah, I
for
think
example,
Liverpool
or
potentially have a
or
double coming
37.
up. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
they will definitely have a double because
Yeah, they've got
they will very likely playing in 29, and so that game will be the double
exactly.
in
Yeah.
potentially in 37.
Yeah, I think the only
Um,
downside at the moment it feels like with that though is that it's right at the end of the season. We don't know, like the season could be wrapped up by then as well. We don't know, like who'll be playing, who won't be playing, that kind of thing. I can't imagine someone like Salah not getting minutes, even if like Liverpool win the season earlier or whatever. Like ambitious thinking there, but yeah, you just don't know. I feel like it's too late by then, potentially. It's just opportunity
no,
maybe
I think
missed.
I think I think I think later in the season there may be more, like it could be potentially more beneficial for the triple captain. Because
Really?
if team got nothing to play, they will ship five, 6 goals. Like I joke about West Ham being on the beach,
Yeah.
against Arsenal, right? There will be teams that are exactly like that at the end of the season where you've got nothing to play for, so they just yeah they will
Yeah,
they will
fair.
they will tend to concede. Won't be good for bench boost though, because if
No.
team rotate heavily, then you could potentially end up with like players playing
Yeah, okay.
only once instead of twice. But for the triple captain, if you if you are confident that the triple captain play twice in a double game week toward the end of the season, then you could potentially have
Yeah. I
super
can see
super
Salah
bowl.
doing that. Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
Salah playing,
So
like
yeah, I
he'll
wouldn't be
play
put
as
off of
much as
that. Yeah.
possible, right? Like he'll just play as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, and obviously, alternatively, if you go ahead with triple captain this game week, then think about what you want to do for 29. And the wild card can set up the bench boost. So that could be like 34, for example, or 37. And then you could play the free hit. So if you don't play free hit in 29, then obviously the free hit can be played in one of those two doubles. So
Yeah.
34 and 37. So yeah, there's different possibility, but obviously, if you've got the bench boost in play, it kind of hamstring you a little bit in terms of like you still need to think about and set up your team in a way that you get a decent bench,
Yeah.
the bench put, and sometimes that could be the detriment to your team because you'll be transferring in players for the bench, for example. Whereas in my case, I don't care about the bench. Like once I got through this period, I will be just thinning out my bench as quickly as possible and put all my money in the starting 11.
Yeah,
So
I would
yeah.
love to get my bench boost out of the way. I mean, you've got yours out of the way, and which is why I'm tempted to play my wild card a little bit sort of, later if possible. I'm currently eyeing up 30, 31. If I can push it out later, then great. But yeah, I've I actually looked at how many hits I'd taken so far. I've only taken 6 hits, which is Actually, a lot better than I thought. I thought I would have taken more hits there, but yeah, it's tricky. But I'm open to them, with the next couple of game weeks coming up anyway. Ryan just said, problem is figuring out which doubles you might get later might be hard, and getting a good candidate later also might not be guaranteed. Yeah,
There.
agree. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's why you just play the card that you are dealt with now. Like
That's
Haaland
right.
with 2 home games is the best option.
Yeah, agree. Um, Thank you again for everyone that's in the chat. Please do like the stream if this is the type of content that you like listening to. It is very off the cuff. It's called off the cuff because we don't do that much planning. I don't do that much planning when I'm chatting to you guys and, just interacting with the community. It's very much a video diary of how my season is going, and it's not been going that great, but it's been great sharing that with you as well and making the small gains and just kind of talking about it. And yeah, it's been an interesting roller coaster experience, but yeah, it's been fun as well. So yeah, please do like the stream if you like it, and please do subscribe as well. So this time I'm not doing spaces, I am doing YouTube only. Not sure if that will be the case moving forward. Still figuring it out, but yeah, thanks again for being there in the chat. So we'll move on to our bus teams and just take a few questions. There was a few questions that came through on X, and yeah, and we've got a couple of questions that are coming through. So in the chat as well, if you have questions, pop them up. I'll get them up on the screen as well, and yeah, we'll sort of answer a few of those as well. So in terms of our bus teams, Tien, I've got your bus team over here somewhere. Here we go. So yeah, tell us about what you're thinking for game week 25 then.
Yep. So for game week 25, so I have triple Man City already. So De Bruyne, Foden, and Haaland are in there. In terms of Liverpool, I have Diogo Jota and Trent, and then I have Doughty as well. So that's 6 there. But obviously, we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
Trent is potentially a problem. So I have one free transfer. The initial plan was just to roll if Trent was fit. But now, obviously, I think I'm gonna sell Trent, and if I do sell Trent, I would take a -4 because there's
Yeah.
no point selling Trent and not use that money to maximize the
Exactly.
points in this game week. So my thinking is I will use the money to upgrade Solanke to Darwin. So Darwin will come in for Solanke, and then potentially he will, like, I will revert that move in 28 to bring up Solanke for Darwin, because the thing with Darwin is I know I'll get frustrated and I'll sell him as quickly as possible, and I'll potentially keep him for the Forest game in 27, and I'll
Yeah.
just revert. It just make it so much easier for me to revert that transfer in 28
Yeah.
rather than
Agree.
selling Watkins or Haaland.
Yeah.
And so in terms of who I get for Trent, so I was thinking, and it really depends on what I want to do in 29, as I said earlier, right? If I want to keep the free hit, like to save the free hit and don't use it in 29, then I'll bring in someone like Regulon,
Yeah.
because
I like it.
he has a double
Yeah.
now. He doesn't blind in 26, and he doesn't blind in 29. But that doesn't sound very inspiring at all.
Are you
It's
tempted by Arsenal?
yeah. So that is where I'm looking at as well, because obviously at the moment I have Saliba. I could potentially get Gabriel and double up on Arsenal defense, because I think that they have the best defense at the moment, and they seem to be working very well with the sort of set pieces corners as well. They're playing Burnley this game week, who are particularly bad at defending set pieces. So that is potentially a problem, and of course
Yeah.
with that, I will guarantee not to miss out, because either one of them score, I'll get them both. um, so that is currently where I'm thinking, and then next game week I would probably just sell Jota to get Saka as well. So then coming straight back to the triple Arsenal for their good run of fixtures, and of course if they don't play in 29, then I'll just free hit.
Yeah, fair.
But obviously, there's still a chance that Chelsea lose in the FA Cup fifth round, and then suddenly Arsenal and Chelsea have a game, then I will
That's
have
right.
pretty much a full squad. Because the thing with Regulon, even with Regulon, I kind of like, try to work my plan through. It will still require a couple of hits to
Yeah.
just to feel like 9 players in 29. Is like, I don't really like that, because that,
Yeah.
like, it doesn't it not only it hamstring my team in 29, but it hamstring my team throughout
That's right.
these
It's going to
next few
continue.
game weeks as well. Because
Exactly.
I need to get Bowen. I will need, obviously, I'll probably get one Spurs player anyway. So De Bruyne could go to Son or Richarlison's or whatever. It doesn't matter. But basically, if I'm determined to not free it in 29, then all the transfer will be Bowen, Spurs, and then like Fulham and whatever. It's like, it just
Yeah.
doesn't sound very inspiring. And Tony, like, yeah. So I think currently I'm leaning just focus on Arsenal because they playing well,
That's right.
and forget about 29 and see what happens,
Yeah.
and we'll just free hit, when I get there.
Yeah, I'm quite literally playing week by week at the moment. It's been hard. Like I'm such a like a nerd when it comes to planning and picking my, like sussing it out and with the board in the back, and I'm constantly sort of, post-it noting and stuff like that. But I'm trying to not as well. It's been really difficult to do that, but I'm trying to not overplan because I feel like I need the flexibility to move whichever direction that I need to move as well. So, in my case, I am thinking about taking Trent out. I'm just not feeling good about, how many minutes he's going to get. I don't know if that's just this, I don't know, like Klopp sort of just keeping downplaying it and he's actually going to be fine. Yeah, it's hard to say. But the desire to bring in KDB potentially and Darwin is quite high as well. So I'm probably going to go, Trent out. But the thing is, I don't have much money left. If I take out Trent and take out, let's say, Richarlison, bring in KDB, and take out Solanke and bring in Darwin, I'm left with something like 4.1 mil in the bank. So it's a really, really tiny amount that I've got there, which is why I was tempted to, bring in Connor Bradley because yeah, I mean, even if he gets something, that's great. But then I would have to bench him after that and look for an opportunity, maybe wild card, or look for an opportunity to take him out. And that's basically what I'm dealing with because I don't intend to bring in Salah until after game week 29 anyway. So there's just no way unless, like, I mean, he's only back a few game weeks in between anyway if he is back. So yeah, I'm really tempted to just not bother with Salah. So I'm probably going to only have 2 Liverpool players. The 4.1 in Connor Bradley is what is tempting me there. And in case he gets some minutes, in case he gets some returns, then great, fantastic. But then otherwise, he's just going to be sitting on my bench, which is why I needed Taylor to play as well. Look, the easy moves that I could make, and this is where I've got to just convince myself that I don't need KDB. If I convince myself I don't need KDB, I can keep Trent, I can take out Porro, and free up enough funds to go Solanke to Darwin. So then I'm just using my 2 free transfers and not taking that -4 hit as well. So yeah, that's currently my thinking at the moment. And so yeah, I've got a little bit of extra planning to do just around, game week 26 and having a look at what are my options. Am I okay to just play 10, which is something I am considering? Like, has that sort of crossed your mind? Like, are you okay with playing 10 players, like 10 good players going into, going into game week 26?
Yeah, I think it's perfectly fine if you got good 10 players. Because I mean, if you looked at the last few weeks, like a lot of teams have like defenders that's been scoring 1 point.
Yeah,
So it's like, yeah, if you got strong 10 players, that's perfectly fine.
yeah.
Now, keeping in mind that it's all relative, so I think most people will probably have 11 in 26. So you're going with 10, then obviously you are one short. For 29, that's probably a bit of be a different story. A lot of people will probably have then less than 9. So then, having 8 or 9 is fine.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think it's more about who you have rather than how many.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, 10 good options is totally fine.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm probably going to end up, having 10 players there. Let's take a couple of questions that were on X that came up. So let's just have a look at, just refresh that there. So we had a question from Ryan. So he's got Trent like us as well, and I want to sell him to fund my move for KDB. Was looking at Moreno initially, but now with Digne back, I'm not sure. Any other recommendations to bring in? Regulon maybe. Have about 5.3 mil for a defender. That's pretty good. I would love that money, Ryan.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
So yeah. So we talked about Regulon
Yeah,
already. Ryan already has Gabriel and Doughty, so there's not much there. Saliba, how much is Saliba?
I think he's a lot more, a little
Is
bit
a bit
more.
more.
I think it's about
Yeah.
5.6. Actually, maybe a little bit more, about 5.6. He was higher than I realized because Gabriel's
Yeah.
only
Okay.
5.
Yeah. So that he can't get there. Yeah, it's 5.6. So
Yeah. Ryan just said
yeah,
he's
like
open to the option of
Dallo.
Dallo as
Yeah,
well.
Dallo is a good option, I think, because Man United have been playing well. He, Dallo does have attacking potential. Um, but
Yeah.
obviously, keeping in mind that he blanks in 29 or very likely blank in 29. So that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
help you there if that's the way you want to go. So if you really want to avoid a free hit in 29, then Regulon is probably the best option.
Yeah.
Kind of like the balance option for
Yeah.
for those
I like it. I
different
think
criteria.
I think
But
it's good.
yeah, Dallo is a great option. Yeah.
Yeah. Agree. So we got a question here from PSB. Do I need any more doublers? I already own Edison, Ruben, Haaland, Trent, Jota, and Darwin. Oh gosh, I'm so jealous. Have one free transfer and planning to roll. Trying to prioritize the blank game week 26 and 29 with the transfers. Right approach, or should attack doubles more?
Yeah, that's tricky because you know so tripling up on City and Liverpool already, and now obviously we have doubt about Trent.
Yeah.
But the problem is you can't just easily go Trent and get another City attacker because that's probably the biggest gap, right? So it's got double defense, which is a little bit shaky, especially with Ruben Diaz as well. Like he might not play both games,
Yeah.
so that's a slight problem. But of course, he's not going to take a -8 to remove like Ruben Diaz and Trent and get like a KDB, for example. So that's probably a bit too much. Um, yeah, I try to prior 26 and 29. So yeah, it comes back down to like, are you happy with Trent playing maximum maybe one game? If not, then trend down to like once again a Regulon
Yeah.
would solve the problem with 26 and 29. So it really depends on the priority, right? If the priority is 26 and 29, then Regulon is a great option. If the option is if the priority is to maximize point in this game week, then it probably wouldn't go there.
Yeah.
It would go somewhere else. But yeah, it's rolling is perfectly fine. Like
Yeah.
rolling
I think
is
so.
perfectly fine as well. Yeah,
Given what he's got, yeah, makes sense.
yeah.
Makes sense. So Peter has sent in a question here as well. Let me just clear the overlay there. So we've got so he's got one free transfer out of two used. Pedro Porro to Regulon is sounds like second free transfer. I'll wait until the deadline when I know some information on Trent injury. Do I start Solanke or Louise?
Hmm. Yeah.
Let me just make his
Well,
team bigger.
Luis has a better fixture on paper. He's on pen as well, and he did score last game week.
Yeah, I know. And this is it. Recency
um,
bias, right?
the recency bias will tell you that he will start David Lewis, but Solanke is always, the sort of the talisman of Bournemouth, and he's on pen as well. It's tricky actually. I would start Solanke, but yeah, it's a close call.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's tough, that
not
one.
easy. Yep.
Sorry, Peter. Good
Mm.
luck. And well, yeah, look, we'll sort of. Were there any questions in the chat? Let's just have a quick look. So Karen asked the question around Saliba versus Dallo, who has a better chance of getting a game in game week 29. And Ryan said, at this moment, I would say Saliba, given the way Chelsea are playing. Yeah,
I wouldn't
but
be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Nottingham Forest win against Man United. So
ooh,
yeah, yeah,
you reckon?
that's a possibility. I think in terms of Ben Crellin prediction based on I think odds of the FA Cup fixtures, I think the Man United game have a better chance of not being blank,
Yeah,
but only just I think. So yeah, I mean you could go either way, and yeah, you never know.
yeah.
I
I
I I think just roll the dice in terms of who you prefer for the next few game weeks and hope for the best, because there's no point. Like you can't predict that
No, no, it's
really.
tough. Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm just seeing if there's any more questions. So I think Boo Boo had a question as well. Morris Doughty and KDB for -4. And he said he would be taking out Palmer, Jesus, and Porro.
So Jesus and Porro fine, um, and KDB and Doughty fine. I don't love Morris. Um,
Yeah, he's
but
not
if
been
that's
playing as much, right?
now he's been playing, he's got pen, but I think Adebayo is playing more centrally, and I think
Yeah,
he might be a better option. Yeah, I don't mind Morris, but just not very inspiring. That's all, especially with the double that they've got. Now I know that they got double, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But if that's the only way to get KDB, then maybe, yeah, I think I don't mind that. Because yeah, removing Jesus and Porro is fine in my opinion.
yeah, yeah. Actually, to that point, so how essential do you feel is a KDB? Because, I mean, look, he got benched in the previous match, mostly because of the UCL, of course, and then he's gone and played 90 minutes in the UCL. And obviously he's got double coming up. The double is not, I mean, the double is fairly easy for City, of course. But yeah, like, do you feel, KDB against, your Chelsea and Brentford is essential? Like, because we are now thinking about -4s, for bringing KDB, -8s even to bring in KDB.
So I took -4 to get KDB last game week,
Yeah.
knowing that there was always a chance that he would be benched, and he was benched, but he came on and still got
Yeah.
points. So it's like he's not essential, no. But am I happy having him in my team? Yes. It's that sort of comfort that having someone like KDB in the team. I mean, Haaland is essential. KDB is not.
Yeah.
But a -4 for KDB, I think it's fine. Like
Yeah.
even if he
Yeah.
does, even if he doesn't start both games, I think he'll start at least one.
What do we
It'll be
reckon
very.
about 120 minutes also?
I think minimum 120. Could be between 120 and 150, I think, and that's more than enough for KDB to do a lot of damage. So no
Yeah.
essential, no, but desirable.
Yeah.
Yes, highly
Yeah.
desirable is what I say. And just a -4 is, I think, is fine. I know that there are people talking about -8 to get him.
Mm-hmm.
That will
Yeah.
probably be a little bit on the sort of the 50-50 side, but -4 is fine, especially when you remove. I think Jesus is still injured. Porro hasn't been playing well, and he has a blank, so you know
Yeah.
that's fine. Now, obviously, the only thing to keep in mind is you're replacing Porro with Doughty, so you're replacing a blank player with a blank player
That's
for
right.
26. So just make sure that you have a plan for 26 in terms of like, do you have enough defenders to play? Because otherwise, you don't solve that problem. So don't, yeah, as I said, we talked about it earlier, right? Don't get tunnel visions in just
Agree.
one game week. You got to look a little bit further. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So last couple of questions. Tien and I said, yeah, we'll keep it to an hour, and here we are still chatting. I knew it was bound to happen. Every time I think, yeah, I'll try for 45 minutes to an hour. So Elder Forest is asking, sell Liverpool assets in game week 26 or keep all for Forest. Look, personally, I will probably be keeping at least one of them. So if I like currently I've got Trent and Jota, and I'm thinking about taking out Trent, keeping Jota and bringing in Darwin. So I will probably hold on to either both, actually. Having said that, I might hold on to Jota and Darwin, or I will probably get rid of one of them, and that could be Jota, depending. It comes down to where I want to go in game week 27, with the fixtures that are coming up there as well. So there are a couple of good fixtures there. So yeah, I might end up keeping. But then I've got Palmer, I've also got Porro, and I've also got Richarlison. So I need to start thinking about taking some of those players out now if I want to even try and navigate game week 26 with 10 players, or ideally 11, but I'm okay with 10 good players. So yeah, what do you reckon, Tien? Like, would you be thinking about selling all of yours or holding on one,
Yeah,
two?
probably not all, because I don't need to sell all to field 11 and 26. So
Yeah.
I will probably be likely to sell Jota first,
Mm,
because I want Saka. So then that'll be an easy option for me, and then Darwin can stay and play for us, and then he can become Solanke in 28. So that's kind of like the move just make themselves in terms of yeah. But I don't think you need to sell all of them at once.
mm,
Just sell who you need to get a good option for 26. Now, keeping in mind that some people, like yourself, already have Saka. Do you really want a Bowen? Probably not. So then maybe you want, Jota to be a placeholder for Spurs midfielder. Like, if you
exactly.
do end up selling Richarlison, then Richarlison will have to wait until 27, right? So then if you're like, well,
Potentially. Yeah.
I'll just keep Jota and then I'll sell him for Richarlison in 27. In which case you may sell Darwin, for Tony, for example. That's
Exactly.
that's another option. So it really depends on your team and how you're looking at in 26. There's no need to rush them all out at once.
Yep. Absolutely. That's great advice there. Um, that's pretty much it. So, as I mentioned, slightly longer than what we sort of anticipated. Tien, thank you for being patient, and great conversation. Always pleasure talking to you, especially when it comes down to planning and chip strategies. And we are navigating a bit of a minefield, and it definitely does feel like a double jeopardy coming our way as well. So yeah, look, I definitely appreciate all the advice that you've given, that you give on X especially, and in the group chats and things like that. But thanks for coming on the stream and having a chat with all of us around how we can plan our double game week 25, navigate the blanks, look at our chip strategies moving forward, all the things that are coming to that pointy end of the season, as well. So yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you. So thanks again.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's been a great chat, and thanks everyone in the chat for being very engaged as well, and hopefully everyone will get a green arrow in 25. Much better
Yes.
luck than I had last game week. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
thanks
hope
thanks for
so.
having on, and yeah, all the best.
Thank you. And we can catch you on FPL IQ tomorrow, I believe, as well. Is that
Yes,
happening? Yeah.
we'll be on. Yep.
Amazing. Yeah, that sounds great. And if you haven't checked out Football Chatbox as well, please do check out Ryan's channel. They're doing a really good stream tomorrow as well. So yeah, there's plenty going on tomorrow in terms of streams from our Aussie managers over here. So thank you again for being in the chat. Please like and subscribe. Really appreciate it. It just means more people get to see a very informal, ranty sometimes. Actually, I haven't ranted this because I got a green arrow, right? So I didn't really rant, haven't really sworn. I don't know what's going on, right? But
Yeah.
no, thank you again for being here, and yeah, catch you all next week, hopefully with a green arrow again. So take care, thanks again, and yeah, keep it
See you
easy.
all.
See ya. Bye.